Good morning, Cochise County. Michael Zehr here. It is July. What is the date today? You know, let's.
The ninth.
Should have had that already. Yeah, Friday, July 9th. Coming to you live from the Rising Eagle studios here at the Warrior Healing Center this morning. If you're able to watch us live right now, and if you have any questions for our guest today or myself, please put it in the comments section, and we will be happy to answer those questions for you. So happy Friday, everybody. And today my guest is Hank. Hank, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I just met Hank yesterday and over at the Bagels and Brew, which was a really good event yesterday. They had a pretty good turnout, I thought, and lots of food, huh?
There were a lot of people here.
Yeah. So they are doing the Bagels and Brew at the Warrior Healing Center. I hope I don't have this wrong now. Every 2 weeks, every other Thursday. That will be at 0900 to 1100 hours. And I will have more information for you on the live stream at the end because I have all these events I have to go over. So Hank, first off, let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where were you born, raised, that kind of stuff?
Detroit, Michigan.
Ah, Motor City, huh?
Right.
All right.
My father was a World War II veteran.
Okay.
And after the war, when the auto industry took off again, they moved up. They were from the South, and so they moved up to Detroit. And my younger brother and I were born there. So.
Oh, wow. And I'm guessing you went to high school there and everything, then,
Yeah.
right? Oh, cool. And what tugged on you to say, "Oh, I want to enlist in the military"?
Well, that didn't come till later. I got my draft card in '72.
Okay.
And the Vietnam War was still going on, and they raised the age to 19 in 1972.
What was it before that?
18.
18? Okay.
Right, yeah. And then they raised the call-up age to 19, and then when I turned 19, they stopped drafting.
Okay.
And by 75, we were out. So I didn't join then. I didn't get drafted.
You didn't get drafted? Okay.
All right, and I ended up getting married a couple years later, and in 1979, when I was 24, I joined the Army National Guard back in Nebraska.
Okay. In Nebraska, what part?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay, you got to tell us how you got from Detroit to Lincoln. That's got to be an interesting story.
Well, it's not that I just needed to get out of Detroit. Everybody, I grew up right outside of downtown, and all the, there was just a lot of bad stuff going on with drugs, and
Okay.
and I ran away from it and went to Lincoln, Nebraska, and stayed there 45 years.
Did you have family there? Is that why you went to Lincoln, or you just?
No, I had hitchhiked around a couple summers before that in the early '70s, and ended up getting a job out of Denver
Okay.
with the railroad, but they sent us to Nebraska, me and a friend of mine. And so I met a couple guys there. The job was temporary. Went back to Detroit, and one morning I woke up and called the guys I knew in Lincoln to see if I could stay with them until I found an apartment. So I was just running away from a bad neighborhood.
So you enlisted from Omaha, or what part of Nebraska
in
was
Lincoln.
it? Oh, Lincoln. You said that, didn't you? I
Yeah.
wasn't paying attention. Sorry about that. So then there goes those ums. I told Kathy that every time I say an I'm going to pay $1. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I owed $20, so I got to pay that. So you go to Lincoln, Nebraska, and you go to the MEP station there, or how did that work?
No, I was a welder, and
Okay.
And one of the guys that I worked with was in the Air Guard, and during this time period, there was a $50 bounty if you could get somebody to join the Guard because the numbers were down.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which $50, I guess it was all right back then. It seemed kind of low, but he talked to me about it for a while, and I talked to my wife, and I decided that I would check out the Army first, see what they had to say, and I got in touch with a salesman there, and the next day I was down there signing. So, like I said, I was 24, and so I was getting called pops and stuff like that. But I went to training down at Fort Gordon, Georgia. One station unit training.
Basic training and your AIT were both there?
All together,
okay.
Yeah, all the drill sergeants. And I took a short one. I was a 36 kilo.
Which is?
Tactical wire operations specialist.
And what does that job entail?
That wire dog, mainly running field phones and
like a cable dog?
Switchboards. Yeah, it was just a two-strand wire that we hooked up. We had Vietnam era equipment back then, little field phones. You just hook 2 wires to them, 2D batteries, and you can have another one on the other end. You can have a conversation. So we run them to a switchboard, and so we could hook up. I was in a brigade headquarters company, infantry. Commo.
Okay.
So
after you went into basic training and then your AIT and you completed your advanced individualized training, what was your next step?
To go back to Nebraska.
Okay.
And report for duty there.
How does that work out? For example, do you go to a unit and say, I'd like to be assigned in this area? Because I don't know how the National Guard works. Or do they tell you, like the Army tells you, this is where you're going to be?
No, you can pick. At least back then you could pick. You could see what slots were open, and I wanted a short MOS because I didn't want to be gone that long.
Okay.
And looking back, if I would have taken a longer one and gotten at least 180 days in, I would have gotten VA benefits.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Yeah. I was talking to a couple of the chapter service officers over at the DAV, and they were saying that there's some extra information in there if you were like injured while you were on duty or anything to that nature, then that might help with any claim that you might want to file. But I find it so weird that someone takes an oath to defend our country, whether they're Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard, Air Force, National Guard, Army Reserve. You take the oath, you put on a uniform, you serve. To me, you're a veteran, you should get VA benefits. That's my opinion anyways.
Well, I was, part-time guard for a while. We had 1 week in a month and then 2 weeks for annual training. And but after 4 years, I joined, there was a full-time job that came open at the Combined Sport Maintenance Shop, and I was a welder, and that's what they were looking for. So I got a job there, and I worked there for 5 years full-time, but it wasn't AGR. It was Department of Defense wage grade technician.
And what's AGR? Active
Guard Reserve.
Active Guard Reserve. Okay.
That's like full duty or full-time.
Okay.
So I worked under the Department of Defense, but I had to be in the Guard to have the job. And they were starting right at 10 years. They were starting to really review board a lot of guys and women out, just to get rid of them. At 20 years, if they didn't have everything in their file that needed to be done, and they didn't have to tell them why. So I looked at 10 years. I thought, I'll go out and do something else. And
what was your rank at that time?
E5.
E5, okay.
Yeah.
I was talking to I had 3 ladies that I interviewed a few weeks ago, and they were telling me that in the E5, E6, E7, the specialist, they did away with those ranks. So now they're sergeant, staff sergeant, and so on. Because when I served, there was specialist E5. So you were a sergeant.
Right,
or I was a specialist.
I was a sergeant.
Sergeant,
yeah.
okay.
And before that, I was a Spec 4, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird how you go from like PFC? You don't
4.
go to corporal, you go to Spec 4,
right.
Then you go to sergeant.
Right. Yeah.
Go figure that.
Yeah.
The Army does things like that too. That's just really weird.
Yeah.
On the National Guard front, how does that work? So you're assigned to you go back to Lincoln, Nebraska, correct? Is what you said, and you're working there. How does that work then? I mean, for example, who activates you if there's a situation that comes up? How does that work out? Is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, I was never activated. That came after.
Okay.
Yeah, got in after Vietnam and out before Desert Storm. So,
Okay.
but
there was no like state emergencies or anything that they.
That's what got me that first year. We had a blizzard, and it was on a drill weekend. And you know what they did? They sent us home.
Oh wow.
Yeah, instead of giving us snow shovels.
So in the National Guard. So in the National Guard, then you do drills too, then, just like the reserves.
We train on the weekend, one weekend a month.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks out of the summer. I spent about half of my ATs up in Camp Ripley, Minnesota, which is it was a POW camp for German prisoners back in World War II. And that's where we did our training. We stayed in barracks all the time there. We go down out in the field, but never had to spend the night out there. And then we started going to Fort Carson, and that was tent city as soon as you get there, and then you go down range. And I remember every time I went there, I got 3 showers in a 2-week period.
Wow.
Yeah. Those guys were funky. What
bases then did you get to go to? I noticed that you mentioned Fort Carson, Colorado.
Right. Fort Carson. I did about five summers there, and then Fort Riley. I went to
Fort Kansas. Okay.
Yeah, PLDC. That wasn't far from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay.
So I did PLDC down there, and that was just before I got out. I got out within 6 months after that. I quit the full-time job, and I turned in my resignation to the guy that I was working for at that time, and he held on to it. So I don't know, so long ago. I don't even know why I joined. I joke around it was to get away from my wife. I'd been married for 3 years, but I don't know that was the real reason. But the marriage didn't last very long.
Okay.
So,
which happens a lot of times in the military.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I guess I had a marriage that lasted like 3 months.
Wow.
And so I feel you there.
Yeah, well, we got married 3 months after we met, so I haven't made the best decisions.
Oh, I didn't either. I feel you.